In today's module, we're going to be covering the importance of good sleep, and not just a single night's good sleep, but what it looks like and what it actually takes to get good sleep consistently. Some of the topics that we'll be exploring today will include the role of the circadian rhythm and how it affects our sleep. We'll also take a look at sleep consistency and why it matters, and we'll explore what good sleep actually looks like, because sometimes it can be hard to know. So let's start by taking a closer look at the circadian rhythm. The circadian rhythm is really the body's way of telling us when it's time to sleep and when it's time to wake up. But it also regulates a range of other systems within the body, including our feeding patterns, our body temperature, brainwave activity, and also hormone production over the whole 24-hour cycle. It's influenced by many factors, including our exposure to natural and artificial light, temperature, physical activity levels, meal times, and social interaction. Exposure to these different factors can have really varying effects on our sleep and wake times. And exposure to light is actually one of the most critical factors in terms of regulating our circadian rhythm. So it's especially important given that we live in a world full of artificial light. So for a moment, have a think about all the times throughout your day that you've been exposed to artificial light. Generally, it's from the moment we wake up through till well after we go to bed. Particularly the blue light that's emitted from our electronic devices, such as phones, tablets, or computers, can actually really interfere with our circadian rhythm and delay the onset of our sleep. That's because the exposure to that light tells the system that it needs to stay awake, as light is one of our most important wake controllers. This then delays the onset of our sleep because exposure to that light delays the other sleep controllers in the system, such as our melatonin levels, cortisol, and adenosine. This delay in the onset of our sleep controllers works a little bit like a domino set, in that by pushing each sleep controller back, we're actually pushing out the entire system, not only delaying sleep, but also extending out our wake time. So let's take a look at this diagram. So you see here at around 6 a.m, our melatonin secretion actually stops. Our testosterone secretion increases, and this really prepares our body to be ready for the day, to increase our alertness levels and to get us going. By mid-afternoon, we tend to be at our best point in terms of coordination and reaction time. So generally, this can be a good time to go to the gym or for a run or play a team sport. That tends to be when our greatest cardiovascular efficiency and muscle strength occurs as well. As we progress into the evening, our blood pressure increases as well as our body temperature. And these are two of the key controllers in terms of preparing our body for sleep. This signals in the cycle that our melatonin secretion should start as well. Then as we move throughout the night, generally in the earliest hours of the morning, we'll have our deepest sleep and our lowest body temperature. And then the cycle will repeat itself all over again. So you can see here that based off the cycle of day and night, there are many different changes in our physiological state that occur throughout the whole 24-hour period. And each change is actually really reliant upon the step before, working like a domino to balance the entire system. So by now, I'm sure you're wondering, why don't we just operate on a bit of an automatic cycle, given how fine-tuned the system actually is? It's because there are many motivational factors, both internal and external, that can actually control our propensity to either fall asleep or stay awake. So you can think about this in terms of when we're motivated enough, we can actually ignore or override some of those controllers. So some of the most common factors that we see here include things such as our emotional status, stress levels, or our desire to engage in activity, as well as our energy and hunger cues, but also things like our childcare responsibilities. This is really referring to when we have newborns or young children with different sleep patterns to our own. We need to be able to override that system. So while changes or disruptions can occur from time to time, we ideally want to keep it as stable as possible. So at this point, you might be thinking that you now need to start going to bed at exactly 9 p.m. and waking up right on 6 a.m. every day. But it doesn't need to be that precise. And it's also really dependent on what your day looks like. But what's most important is keeping that rhythm really regular and consistent. So by now we all know what amount of sleep we're aiming for, but it's not just the amount, it's a little more complicated. In addition to the amount or quantity, we also need to ensure that we're getting good quality sleep. And one of the biggest factors that we can look at in terms of our sleep quality is actually our consistency. So sleep consistency really refers to the practice of maintaining a regular sleep schedule and routine. It's all about the regularity and predictability of our sleep patterns, as well as the duration and timing of sleep. So really it means going to bed and waking up at the same time each day and striving to achieve this consistently. And this is one of the ways in which we can really keep our circadian rhythm as stable as possible. We know from research that sleep consistency is actually a really significant predictor of good quality sleep. So if we take a moment to think about it logically, it isn't actually that surprising. For example, generally we feel a lot better if we hydrate somewhat regularly throughout the day, instead of not hydrating all day and then having one big drink at the end of the day. Yet, this is exactly what a lot of us do each week with our sleep. We spend all week not getting enough, depriving ourselves, really trying to make up or catch up on it during the weekend. But according to research, one of the reasons why getting enough sleep each night is not the same as averaging enough sleep every night is that the brain gets thrown off by the inconsistencies in our sleep and wake times. It's effectively the equivalent to being always just a little bit jet lagged. So why is sleep consistency so important to us? For many reasons. Firstly, we know from research that people who have a high level of sleep consistency, overall they get more sleep and they get better quality sleep. In fact, some studies actually show that the most consistent sleepers get almost an hour and a half of extra sleep per night. In addition, they're also able to fall asleep more quickly. It doesn't take them as long each night. So, if we go back to the different stages of sleep, consistent sleepers are able to get more deep sleep each night. And we know that deep sleep is actually when our bodies are physically regenerating and recovering. In addition, they also get more REM sleep each night too, which is also really important in terms of helping our mind to mentally recover, process emotions, and consolidate our learning and memories from the day before. So, how well do good sleepers actually sleep? So good sleepers usually take less than 30 minutes to fall asleep at the beginning of the night, and they'll wake up maybe a couple of times throughout the night. In other words, it's really unrealistic to expect to fall asleep immediately upon going to bed and never waking up during the night. Even the best sleepers in the world don't achieve this. Also, even the best sleepers will have a night now and then where it takes them a long time to get to sleep or they wake up a lot. This is generally triggered by stressful events and should usually pass within a night or two. Similarly, every now and then we might have a night where it's difficult to get back to sleep after waking. And these odd occasions every now and then are completely normal, but it can start to become a bit of a problem when, for more nights than not, you're actually finding it really difficult to fall asleep, or it's taking hours of staring at the ceiling or counting sheep just to actually get to sleep. It can also be a problem when you're waking up a lot during the night or finding it difficult to get back to sleep. So these types of concerns are not normal and are generally a sign that it may be time to check in and see what else might be going on for you. In the next module, we're going to take a closer look at a bad night's sleep and what happens when things can start to go wrong with our sleep.